Hello. It's been a wee while since I've recorded for BookTube, and I have got something to keep me going. I'm just back from a secondhand bookshop with a book haul for the first time in a very, very long time. So I encourage you to sit back, relax and watch this. See if any of the books take your interest. Now, I'm bringing you 9 books. I have got 4 classic novels, biography, literary biography. I have got a book on computing. I have got 2 glossy art books with lots of pictures. And I have got a really big kind of reference book. And I'll save it to the end because it's going to be the biggest and heaviest to lift up. Okay, let's start with the novels. Classic, you're going to see from the spines. We've got Penguin. We've also got Virago Modern Classics. So you will expect good things. First one was recommended to me long time ago. George Meredith, The Egoist. This was recommended to me as a book to make me laugh because I've always loved humour and comedy, and it was recommended to me, about 30 years ago. So it's about time I got around to it. I think I had a wee look at it at the time, and it had long sentences and a very roundabout way of expressing things because it was written such a long time ago. Let's see, we're looking about the 1860s kind of time. So this I will enjoy getting into read. And part of the reason in getting novels is because I very often find most of my reading is non-fiction. That's what I'm interested in. I'm thinking about a particular period, time period, or especially to do with art or the arts. I should have introduced myself, shouldn't I? I'm Heather Gregg, and my tagline is all the arts, all the time. I'm particularly interested in how they link and go together. But I'm also an avid reader, lifetime reader. Another novel, a lot of you may have read it, Penguin Classic, Edith Wharton, The Age of Innocence, and I look forward to reading this. It doesn't look too long, and it turns up a lot on BookTube. There's a lot of discussion about it, and I look forward to being able to understand what people have been talking about all these years, so catching up on that. Next one, George Gissing, The Odd Women. It's a Virago Modern Classic, and it's apparently about some women who are kind of out of their time in a way, because it's round about the 1890s in London, and they are sort of the new women. They're a bit stronger, they're not necessarily going to go straight into marriage and kids and the rest of it, and so I'm interested to read this for what it's saying about the role of women. And finally, a great Irish novel, Maria Edgeworth, Castle Rackrent and Ennui. And I think that a certain Jane Austen was quite keen on Maria Edgeworth and was slightly influenced by her. So that adds to the whole pleasure in reading it. And the back just says, stylish, sceptical, cosmopolitan, heir to Swift's fantasy and wit. And that's what I've always heard about this, that it's talking about things in a really witty way. And it says here, Castle Rackrent is Irish family history, vividly and unreliably narrated by the loyal servant Thea. It's a Penguin literature, and the place I got it from has actually got a wee bookmark on it, which makes it all the more special, if you can see that, because this particular bookshop is closing down. It's closing down at the end of the month, and it's been owned by a guy who's known affectionately as Sparky, based in Dundonald in Northern Ireland. And I went to it many years ago, and it was actually quite special to me because at the time my husband had asked me to get rid of a lot of my personal library. He doesn't really hold that much with books and reading, and I find it very upsetting, but I took a lot of books out, and I took these to this particular bookshop, and I arrived and a lot of the books were to do with humour and comedy. That was especially my particular interest at the time. I still love it, but that was it particularly at the time. And the proprietor of the shop, who's just about to retire, just looked at a full carpet of these books. And instead of saying, oh, let's look at this one and maybe that one, and maybe, he just said, I'll give you X pounds for the lot. And I was just so relieved. I didn't want to sit and go through what each one was and go over them again. It was agonising enough to part with them. And those of you who've had to cut down your library or move it around, you will know what that means. So today, I got to be there as this gentleman is closing up the shop and to purchase some books from him and let him be free to move on to the next stage of his life. So that's the story of the bookshop itself and its place in my life. Now, literary biography. A literary giant written by a biography giant. It's Trollope by Victoria Glendinning. So Trollope I've got into in the last couple of years, really. He was someone who I felt you should have read. And I had found the Warden not very easygoing. I think I had maybe read part of the next book. And then more recently, I think with BookTube, you just hear so many books talked about and you think, I want to join that conversation, or that sounds more fun than I thought. And you start to read the classic books and you realise, oh, they're a classic for a reason. They're incredibly well written. And I have found Trollope particularly gripping. He's not writing not a whodunit, but it's as gripping as that, because he's writing about human nature, what's going to happen next. And I almost continuously read a book. If I open one of his books, I'm hooked. And I'm now so aware of that, I'm extremely cautious to buy one of his books. Now, that's the main literary ones. There's another big one coming at the end for the reference, but more of that in a moment. I now have something which a lot of you are going to laugh at. And if you laugh, you're possibly the male persuasion, because I got a book on how to use a particular app or a computer program, which is for editing photographs. Okay, so this is for working with Affinity Photos. Big chunkster. And a lot of people I know immediately just say, oh, just play with it. Just take the program and play with photographs and so forth. But I often find I'm using Affinity when I need to do a project. I want to do something specific and I can do part of it and then I get stuck and I don't quite understand what every single icon means and how you work with different layers. And this, I think I can just sit and work through, and then I will know what my options are, which buttons to press first and which order to deal with the photograph and process it. Now, I said art books, and it wouldn't be me unless there really were art books in the hall, really, would it? So I got a large, I'll have to move back to let you see this, Cézanne by Taschen, well-known name, and it's very large pictures. It's a large format, and you will see there's words about his biography, little bits, but really you're getting a chance to look at the pictures in close up. And I remember whenever I saw, I think my first Cézanne in the flesh, I was astonished because around the edge he just hadn't finished it. There was just raw canvas, and it was a picture of Mont Saint-Victoire, which is his favourite mountain and his favourite motif towards the end of his life. He painted it often, and it was as if, okay, I've painted the mountain, I don't need to paint all the bits in around the edge. And let me see if I've got a picture of it here. Yeah, this is one. Oh, there's actually several. There, you get the effect of it. This one here, as you can see, there's bits of white around the edge. That's where there's a canvas. It's not fully finished. That's it in a different season. And that's it again. You can see the whole canvas is not covered. So, Cézanne, I have now got this big book on his life, which I'm vaguely aware of, but this will bring me more up to date. And the chance to look at his pictures closely, in a large format, not in a photographic book of lots and lots of artists all covered together, and then you end up with something like this, and it's describing a painting that's like this. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. And is it the same size? It's even bigger again. Henri Matisse, who is one of my very favourite all-time painters. And this I got, to be honest, because again it's a Taschen. It shows his famous pictures, and they are so extremely large that you can take them out and frame them. And it almost invites that, because it's just literally the whole of a page. And it's actually the book's starting to fall apart almost. And on the back it just gives you very basic information about what the picture is in different languages. So these are the ones it shows on the back, so you can see they are his classic pictures. The Dance, Odalisque, Bouquet of Flowers, I think is the red studio there. No, it's not. Joie de Vivre is there, and Purple Dress and Anemones. That's hard to say, isn't it? And also, of course, Icarus, which I love, which is this one from his, let's see if I think it was the Jazz, the book called Jazz, which was a lot of his cutouts. So I'm looking forward to that. So that book will have several lives. It's large format for me to look at, and I have books about Henri Matisse, and I can then look at this book. And I might even try and do some sketches from the pictures, because they are so big, it invites that. It gives you a chance to see what's really in the pictures. And then thirdly, there's going to be some framed and put up on my walls. So I look forward to that. Now, thank you for staying with me. We are now at the very end, the very last one, the biggest one, as I said. And it is all of Shakespeare. It's a Norton student edition. So you have all the works of Shakespeare in quite fine paper with little notes where there's a word used and it's maybe come out. It's an old word, Elizabethan English, which we wouldn't be used to. Just notice there's a tiny bit of highlighting there in one page. But I think that might just be... It seems to be in the Merchant of Venice, so I think you've had a student who's written an essay on that. But the other ones seem to be untouched. And that's quite good. At the very start, it's got details about Shakespeare and his times, which runs to just over 100 pages. And those are little thin pages. And then it just goes into the complete works of Shakespeare. So it's big, but it replaces having a whole shelf full of individual books. If I see them and like them and want to know more, I may end up, of course, getting more books on the subject. But I think that's a great introduction, just knowing it's there. And I know there's different people who would make it a habit to read through Shakespeare every year, people who were great writers. Just as a way of keeping the references going, their thinking. And now I have all of Shakespeare's plays. I don't think it's the third edition. And I don't think it's got his poems, I think it's just got the plays. Yeah, but that's enough to be getting on with, I think. So this will keep me amused for a little while. And I hope you have enjoyed hearing about these books, and that maybe it will give you an interest to go back and look at books of yours that are similar. Let me know what you're reading. You could put a comment at the end of this video, and I hope you've enjoyed what I've been showing to you today. Bye for now.